Oh, hey there. What am I doing? Well, I'm suiting up and preparing because I'm about to take a swing at Pokemon. And I know the dangers of doing that on YouTube. Now let me just preface this by saying I grew up with Pokemon. I got both Red and Blue for my 12th birthday, and I've been in love with the series ever since. I've played every main series game and even some of the spin-offs. In fact, I still actively play Pokemon Go to this day. So I'm not here to fight. I just want to talk. As each year goes by, I find myself questioning various aspects of the series, or the games as a whole, so I thought it'd be fun to just make a little comprehensive list of all of the various problems that I see with the Pokemon series. Now, this isn't going to be in any particular order, it's not really going to be a top 10 list of all these things that I hate, it's just a bunch of random things that I've thought about that are going, hey, you know, wouldn't that be fun to just list out and talk about? But hey, that's enough build-up, right? Let's just rip this band-aid off and see what happens. Starting off small was an issue that's already long since been fixed, but had an effect on me regardless. Gen 1 not showing the power of attacks. Pokemon certainly wasn't my first RPG, but it's still very unique in that the attacks didn't follow what I was used to. Final Fantasy gave us Fire 1, Fire 2, Fire 3, or Fire, Fyra, Firaga, depending on the game. While games like Dragon Quest gave us Frizz, Frizzle, Kafrizz, or Blaze, Blazemore, Blazemost, depending on the translation. Regardless, it was pretty easy to follow which were the weaker and which were the stronger spells. On top of that, we had damage numbers to help show the strength of an attack. This helped us learn that Frizzle was stronger than Frizz because we visually saw it did more damage. Pokemon though? My child brain couldn't figure out what was stronger between a water gun and a bubble beam, a surf and a hydro pump. Bubble Beam made the whole screen flash on top of making that wild sound effect. Plus, it was given to you by a gym leader. So to me, it was just the strongest water move. Now luckily, that has been fixed since Generation 2. However, my child brain will never forget. Next up, we have the Nidoran issue. This has always bothered me because it showed a lack of forward thinking on Game Freak's part. Nidoran male and Nidoran female are treated as two separate Pokemon, and are the only Pokemon to be treated this way. Nidoran female being number 29 in the Pokedex, with Nidoran male being number 32. The way these two were designed is that the male and female are actually part of their name. This has always bugged me for numerous reasons. Why are they considered special? Did Game Freak really not plan to ever introduce gender to the series? Were they trying to tell us that at the time no other Pokemon had gender at all? Was it too much to just make one Nidoran but have it evolve differently based on its gender? Now this is the part of the video that I was originally going to use to show the example of Snorunt and Kirlia as examples of gender evolution, but they didn't even get that right. Basically, only a male Kirlia can evolve into Gallade, but a male or female Kirlia can evolve into Gardevoir. Same with Snorunt. Male or female can become Glalie, while only female can become Frostlass. Why? Why not just have a female Frostlass and a male Glalie? So I'm retroactively changing this complaint to encompass more than just the Nidoran issue. It's now an overall issue with gender and evolution in the series as a whole, because it's very clear that Game Freak boxed themselves in with their own ideas or lack of forward thinking. Moving on is a gameplay issue, and one that has been brought up by numerous other people, but I still want to address regardless. EXP share. EXP share is a weird thing in this series because it's slowly evolved over time, originally being an item that, as long as it was in your inventory, every Pokemon in your party got a little bit of EXP after battle. It was optional, but also rather invasive because you had to scroll through a million lines of text to let you know that the 5 other Pokemon in your party all got EXP as well. From Generation 2 up to 5, it was a hold item. Whichever Pokemon was holding the EXP share, as long as they were in the party, would get half of the EXP of the battle. There's a little bit more detail on how the EVs get split based on the generation, but overall the EXP is the same. Then X and Y came out, and the EXP share changed into being a key item that can be turned on or off, with the default being on. The problem with this is the entire game was built around the fact that they assumed that you would have it on. So if you don't have it on, the game is much more challenging and you find yourself vastly under-leveled as you play through the game. However, it's also still very unbalanced, because if you do turn it on, you find yourself dramatically over-leveled by the time you reach the end of the game. But it didn't stop there, because when Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu came out, the EXP share was hard baked into the game with no way to turn it off whatsoever. On top of which, you got EXP for simply catching Pokemon. Your whole team got EXP for catching one Pokemon. So when I played these games casually, by the time I reached Cerulean City, my whole team was in their 30s. the game became way too easy. Not because I grinded, but because it was just built to be easy. Something to note is that when I can become overpowered in a game, I often go out of my way to do that. If I'm playing Dark Souls, you can bet that I'm going to grab this Zweihander, go pure strength, and pancake everything in my path. I once spent literal days trying to grind to level 100 on Destiny Islands in the first Kingdom Hearts. As someone who grew up playing Ragnarok online, I'm no stranger to grinding in video games. I like being overpowered, but I also want that to be a choice. I don't have to play that way. I still like the option of playing these games normally and still having a decent challenge. There's a feeling of fulfillment, a satisfaction in seeing your own hard work pay off. Nobody's ever forcing me to fight low-level pigeons and rats for 8 hours. That's a choice that I typically make, because it makes the feeling of satisfaction of crushing an upcoming boss or enemy that much better. But if I play the game casually and I'm already overpowered by doing nothing, where's the fun? Where's the challenge? Unfortunately, the ability to turn off EXP share wasn't present in Sword and Shield either, and now the games seem even more unbalanced due to the EXP candy from raids. These items can be great for post-game competitive team building, but to be given access to them so early on is a bit much. I'm not saying remove EXP share, but as so many have said before, just give me the option to turn it off. Let me have that. Whew. Okay, that was a big one, but let me lighten the load by just doing some rapid fire small complaints, shall we? Why doesn't Love Disc evolve into Alomomola? Why were Solrock and Lunatone completely absent from Pokemon Sun and Moon? Why are some methods of evolving Pokemon so obscure that the only way you're going to find out how to do it is by looking it up online, such as with Inkay and turning your 3DS upside down? Why can't Nidoqueen breed? Still. What's with the note saying Mew is found in South America, and the Pokedex entry talking about Ponyta jumping over the Eiffel Tower? These are real-world locations, made even more confusing by the fact that the Pokemon world has its own version of France. When Heartgold and Soulsilver came out, why didn't they re-add in some of the maps that were removed for limitation from Gold and Silver, such as the Seafoam Islands? Why didn't they have the underground walkways be places where you can fight like bikers and whatnot? That would have been awesome. What the actual hell are Ultra Beasts, and why do they look like NPCs in the game? They come from another dimension. Giratina comes from another dimension. Is he supposed to be an Ultra Beast? Why is this so convoluted? How and why did Lusamine literally merge with a Pokemon? How come every game after Gen 2 always seems to have some gigantic, nearly world-ending catastrophe happen, and there's always a new criminal organization that you have to thwart? Like, please, let me just go on an adventure and enjoy this world without having to save it from a potential apocalypse 3/4 of the way through. Now, I can go into greater detail about how the plot of these games is just not good, but I digress. Why do the rivals need to be friendly now? And before you say, this series is for kids, keep in mind this series started when I was a kid. Antagonistic rivals are so much more satisfying to beat than friendly ones. The friendly rivals are almost more insulting with the way they speak to you. Like, don't you patronize me, how, you little shit? What happened to the music? It all seems very forgettable after Gen 3 and Gen 4. Now, I'm not saying that all of it is bad. I mean, I clearly use Bede's theme as my outro, so there are some good tracks in there. But it all just seems very flowy and forgettable. Now, I'm not as musically educated as I should be, so there's probably a better way to articulate this minor complaint, but it's something that I wanted to list out because it's just something that's bothered me for so long. What's with the favoritism towards select species of Pokemon when it comes to Mega Evolution and Gigantamax? Did Charizard really need to have 2 Mega Evolution forms and a Gigantamax form? Come on. Come on. I could probably go on with these smaller minor complaints, but for the sake of video length, I'll go ahead and segue into the final one. Scrapping ideas for new ones. Constantly. I mentioned Mega Evolution, something that added a new layer to battles. If you're unaware somehow of what Mega Evolutions are, they were a battle mechanic introduced in X and Y. The entire game revolved around them, but essentially, some Pokemon were able to access a new, temporary form in battle. It gave them increased stats, new abilities, and sometimes even a new typing, and only one of your party members could do it per battle. Unfortunately, as I had mentioned, only a handful of Pokemon were able to do it. When Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out, they introduced more Mega Evolution forms, and it seemed like this was something that was here to stay. Until it wasn't, because along came Sun and Moon, and its introduction of Z moves. Out were the Mega Evolutions, instead replaced with an item allowing you to turn one of your moves into a Z move, effectively doubling its attack power. at least until an attack reaches roughly 95, then it had diminishing results. The move can only be used once though. To me, these moves were more of a flash than anything and just a disappointing replacement. Not that that would matter though, because they would be immediately forgotten and replaced again with Sword and Shield's Dynamax. Dynamax is like a weird combination of Mega Evolution and Z moves, but it's still different in its own way. As opposed to Mega Evolution, practically all Pokemon can Dynamax, given a few exceptions. And instead of evolving into a new form, they just grow very large. Then there's a handful of Pokemon that get a special form called Gigantamax, which radically changes their form as well. When Dynamaxing, a Pokemon's HP increases but their stats remain the same, and their moves are turned into Max moves, which are very similar to Z moves. Unlike Mega Evolution, Dynamax only lasts for 3 turns, then the Pokemon returns to normal. It can also only be done in very specific spots and not every battle. The problem is that in the next iteration of Pokemon, Dynamaxing is most likely going to be gone, because they made a very big deal of it only being able to be done in the Galar region. From a gameplay standpoint, what's the point of adding these new types of features only to remove them from the very next game? There are plenty of features that have been removed from Pokemon. Pokemon following you, Super Training, Join Avenue, Season, Triple and Rotation Battles, Dream World, Underground, Secret Bases, and countless other features. Some of them are understandable, some of them not so much. Ultimately though, it just makes me wonder, why? Why introduce features that people enjoy only to axe them later on? Changing things up is fine. Take Final Fantasy for instance, which has basically reinvented itself every single game. Meanwhile, Dragon Quest is essentially stuck to its roots for every iteration. Pokemon falls somewhere in between, being more of the same while simultaneously tossing out new things only to get rid of previous new things. Stuff like Secret Bases, sure, okay, fine. But why get rid of full-on battle modes like Triple and Rotation Battles? It just doesn't make sense. A huge list of complaints like this might come off as entitlement or whining, but it's really just me looking back on this series and missing the fun that I used to have with it. Every time a new game comes out, I get very excited hoping they're gonna fix what was originally never broken to begin with, only to be disappointed. Up to Gen 5, I truly enjoyed the series. Then X and Y came out, and ever since, I just feel like I've been going through the motions of playing these games. Ultimately though, what do I know? Pokemon is the largest media franchise on the planet, so clearly, they're doing something right. Now then, who's ready to fight? What am I doing? Well, I'm suiting up and preparing because I'm about to take a swing at YouTube. Whoops. Wrong one. Do that too.